Whether you're training for your first 5K or your 7th World Major, I think we've all thought about this. How much mileage is the sweet spot? And when does it become too much for what I'm trying to achieve? Hey guys, I'm Case, and since my last marathon, I've been asking the same thing. What's the highest mileage that I actually can maintain working a traditional 9 to 5? And how far can I go with this? I'm gonna break down how you're gonna know if your running mileage is too high, what are some signs that you can be paying attention to, and when should you actually be pulling back? And one quick thing right away, if you're starting to feel pain or tightness in areas that don't usually bother you, that's actually one of the first signs that I noticed in this training block. And I'll be getting right back to that. Because by the end of the week, I had to make the call. Either stick to the plan or pull back. So right now, I'm training for a half marathon. And for some context, I'm in the middle of my highest mileage block that I've ever done in my life, peaking at 66 miles next week. And this week, I'm on pace for 64 miles. So with more miles on the way, I've had to be more in tune with my body than I ever have before. And this has led to some adjustments that I wasn't planning on. And at times, I've definitely been questioning, is this just too much? And maybe you're like me and you're already in this spot where you know something feels off, but you're just not sure if this is a normal part of training or something else. So now I'm gonna ask you guys for some honest insight. When have you pushed too hard in training? And in the back of your mind, you knew you probably should have been pulling back. What happened? Drop it down below. So now, as I get my espresso ready, we're gonna take a trip back in time, back to week 7, where things started going wrong. So this was my 62-mile week, 2 weeks back. And this is where everything started to shift. My legs, mainly my hips and my thighs, started feeling tighter than they usually do. And I noticed in one of my easy runs that I started getting some pain in my left shin, a pain that I don't know if I've ever had in my entire life, and I've been an athlete for most of it. And at first I thought this was just because I'm building mileage. This is normal. I mean, this is mileage that I've never touched before, so something's gonna crop up, right? So my response was to increase my recovery. So I usually take 1 cold bath a week, and at this point I decided it was time to up it to 2. And I also started locking in on my nutrition. But even with that, I still felt off. I just couldn't figure out what it was. I was sleeping well, so it wasn't that. And that's when I realized this wasn't just soreness. This was something that I needed to keep a close eye on. Because my energy level was low. Getting off the couch truly felt like a chore, and my response, I made sure that my easy runs were actually easy, regardless of what my heart rate was telling me. Because at this point, I knew I wasn't dealing with just normal fatigue from a training block. I was dealing with something that might turn into something else. And I needed to stop that as soon as possible. And that takes me into recovery week, where I didn't run into it, I stumbled into it. I had 50 miles planned that didn't go to plan. So instead of locking in at that number, I did the best thing that I possibly could. I started taking it day by day. And that's when I made my first real adjustment in training. It was frustrating. It came during one of my easy 8-mile runs. That is usually my bread and butter. And I had to cut that down to 3 miles. This was about halfway through the week, so this was my plan. I had to make it to Sunday. I had to make sure that I get to my long run and that stays in check, because for my recovery week, that was my most important part. And during this week, it was the first time in a very long time that I truly considered not finishing a run and stopping halfway. And that's when I knew something had to change. So frustratingly enough, I knew the only option I had was to pull back, or I was gonna risk blowing up my entire training block. So what led to this? How did I know that this is what I needed to do? I noticed my fatigue levels were starting to get to a point that I wasn't able to control them, and I was really starting to feel it. And I knew either something was gonna change or I was gonna have to shut it down completely. And luckily for me, that did the trick, because I got through my long run on Sunday, it didn't feel too bad, and then my recovery day that I have scheduled on Monday was truly my saving grace. Yes. So here are 3 things that I asked myself to figure out if I was doing too much. 1, am I getting better or feeling worse? 2, is this something new? 3, am I recovering between runs, or am I just surviving them? Because one day off in a whole training block really doesn't mean that much. But when you start seeing a pattern, that's gonna be something you're definitely gonna wanna pay attention to. And now that I've completed my recovery week, I can truly say that I'm very glad that I took that small step down, because if I didn't, I'm not really sure where I'd be. And right now, I actually feel ready for my 2 peak weeks of 64 and 66 miles. I'm still carrying some fatigue, don't get me wrong. I mean, that is a part of the training. But to me, there's a difference between the aches being there and the pain going away. And that itself tells me that I made the right call. So heading into these 2 peak weeks, I'm doing things a little differently. And you're supposed to give credit where credit is due. And a video that I stumbled across from one of the people that I watch a lot on YouTube, Rory Linkletter, an elite marathon runner out of Canada, had one tip in one of his videos that really stuck out to me, and I'm very thankful that I came across it at this right time. And in a nutshell, he said that he goes out with a range, leaving his training plan in pencil to adjust for what his body actually is demanding and what it's capable of. And for me, a light bulb definitely went off when I heard that, and I thought, it's so simple. But it's so genius. And that simple tip truly saved my training block. Now, I think we both know Rory Linkletter is never gonna watch this video, but if you do, thanks, bud. So when something goes wrong, instead of forcing the plan or reacting too soon, take a minute. Keep it simple, evaluate how you're feeling day by day, and adjust accordingly, because small adjustments now aren't gonna kill your training block, but a big injury will. Because the one thing that can be the biggest mistake of your training block is not listening to your body when it's trying to tell you something. So even though I have 66 miles on schedule for next week, now I can officially say that's written in pencil. We'll see how it goes. And in case you're wondering, this applies to every running level. Whether you're a complete beginner and you're running your first few miles, congrats by the way, or you're a trained marathoner like myself, there's gonna be a point for everybody where you need to decide, should I keep pushing it or do I need to adjust? And I'm figuring all this out in real time in front of you guys, documenting my entire year. But I'm not just following a plan blindly anymore. So if you want to see what actually works and what doesn't for your own training, make sure you're subscribed, because I'm going through my entire year as I do something that I never thought that I was going to. I'm chasing the marathon standard. I'm trying to go from my first ever marathon last year, which was a 3:56, to qualifying for the prestigious Boston Marathon. And in the coming weeks, I'm gonna drop a taper video, because this is gonna be my 3rd taper. And I wanna share with you guys what I've learned so far that works for me and what doesn't. Because the one thing that I figured out is that if you get your taper right, you can have a bang on race. And if you get it wrong, you can be in a world of hurt. Because in my opinion, nailing your taper is one of the most crucial parts of your whole training block. And honestly, a lot of this comes down to just avoiding some key mistakes that most people make in their training. And I made a video on 5 key mistakes that are ruining people's training block. So check that out next. It's right there. See you later, guys.